Good evening, good evening, good evening. Who takes you on a date to the most expensive restaurant in the town and then dines and dashes just as dessert is ended, leaving you with the tab? It's us, American Scouser TV, Thursday night podcast, ASTV Tinnipa to the cool kids. Real football is back. We've gone through the international nonsense, especially if you're Ireland. We get the real football this weekend. Not a huge amount to talk about because it's International Week and only boring things happen. But still, there's a game to look forward to. There's some news on the old administrative charges front, and we'll have a look at what's going on in our crew. That's basically what we talk about. We talk about the charges. We talk about Bojatic coming back from injury, but also, what we're going to expect from Isak and all this stuff that surrounds him. Frimpong being back. I mean, we could be in good shape coming up to the weekend, and then we'll talk about the game. England's brave Scotty Parker's Burnley against us, which I believe is Sunday at 9 a.m. Eastern. 9 a.m. Eastern. Yep. I mean that's a good Sunday of football, which I actually have off for once. So us against Burnley, and then the City United derby. A game where no result makes us unhappy. City lost, great. Man United lost, great. A draw, great. Nice entertaining afternoon. Tony says greetings, but I say greetings to Brian. How are you?
Fantastic.
This is our 1 hour or thereabouts escape from the calamities of the real world. Even on a day worth remembering as today, but we will leave the real world outside and go into the fantasy world of the sport known as football or soccer if you're in America. We don't care. Let's look at the charges thing with Chelsea. If you had been watching the Tuesday night EPL panel show, we talked about City winning some legal victory in the courts. That basically means they can get a 10-year, $1.5 gazillion dollar deal, which will set them up transfer-wise for ages. But this morning we find that Chelsea are up for 74 charges or thereabouts for payments to agents. The corruption knows no end, Brian. But my question is, does the justice know any beginning at this point?
I mean, I don't see anything happen to this. I mean, this is like the most obvious thing right there that's been for years right there, that knowing that this happened. I mean, we knew the whole Abramovich thing right there that was going on. We knew that part. We knew that this is. I mean, I'm almost immune to it anymore right there because I don't think anything happens to it. I mean, hasn't Chelsea already been through the charges once before? I mean, and they basically came out with no repercussions, but a transfer
ban for years. Wasn't it?
Yeah, but what they did, they stocked up prior to the transfer.
Yeah, they bought 250 players.
Yeah, I mean, so it didn't even make a difference. So it's like, I mean, again, you talked about earlier about off air about the Irish being pessimistic. I mean, I got my 12% Irish right there showing because I'm pretty pessimistic about it now too, because I don't see anything coming of this. I don't. I mean, it's like, okay, how many years have we waited for something to happen to City? I mean, this has been going on years. They basically bought championships. They bought all these things like that. Nothing's ever happened. So, I mean, I don't even care anymore right there. I mean, it's nothing. It's like what Tony just said right there. It's something that we've already known. It's not a surprise. I mean, we know, but again, right there, is it making the Premier League money? Yes. And that's the whole question, the whole thing. It's all about money. And even though you go through the whole point right there, they may have broken rules, they may have broken clauses, but viewership has gone up viewership across the board has gone up. So the Premier League is making money over it. So again, they don't care, and why should I care?
I don't want to rehash the entire Tuesday show as entertaining as it was, but one of my main questions to the EPL lads from the other clubs But I suppose that given what we've spent this year in gross terms, that the net spend a different question altogether, because we did quite a good job of recouping a lot of money on the net spend. But in terms of gross spend, we've invested heavily in the value of players. We've paid, for the most part, we've paid what the players were worth, with some haggling that that means disease cardiologists. But my question to the lads then was, if City get away with their charges, if Chelsea get nothing more than you can't sign any youth players for half a season or something like that as their punishment here, that's really the indication that all the bets are off at this point, isn't it? You can literally do anything then, and would that affect like Newcastle? Would it affect how Liverpool does business if they look at the lack of justice, the lack of punishments, and go, do you know what, we're trying to play by the rules. We may as well, if you can't beat them, join them.
I mean, it's like that throughout Europe. I mean, if you want to go to the whole, it's not just a premiership. I mean, how is Real Madrid every year able to spend this amount of money? How are Barcelona right there, who have no money, still able to spend money? I mean, again, it just goes with it's a vicious circle right there. The only thing that's going to probably go out of this right there is, and I think all these clubs have UEFA by the, I hate to say this word, by the balls, because they bring UEFA money, and if anything happens to any of these clubs right there, then the Super League happens, and I think that's the last thing that's holding all this stuff together right there. Where they're like, okay, well, don't do this next time, with a slap on the wrist, and then go ahead and move on. But again, it's all going to go into the Super League eventually. I mean, we watched what happened in rugby. It all went to the Super League eventually. Like the big clubs throughout Europe are all going to come in there and move away right there, because eventually something's going to happen to restrict their flow of income, and they think there was a way that they can make more money, and that they know the more money is by going over to a private equity fund or something like that, who will basically just channel all the money they want to them, and the prize money will keep on increasing. So yeah, I mean, again, nothing's going to happen to this right there. I mean, and nothing. There's nothing to even talk about anymore with this, because again, money rules.
Now, the only like bulwark against the Super League I can think of is that the English government is so invested in the sport because England invented the sport. So they always try to find protections. But money talks, as we know. So my throwaway comment on Tuesday night, but I want to see what you think from our Liverpool point of view, is I would almost at that point just say, go have your Super League. And if Liverpool join it, then thanks for the memories, Liverpool. I'm now a Brentford fan. Like, is there a chance that if that ever happened, and I'm sure it would stay afloat, but maybe not be the success they hoped it would be, because they're relying purely on television money at that point, because he was flying over to Rio de Janeiro to watch because it's got to be a global league at that point.
Yep.
Who's going to fly from John Lennon Airport to Rio de Janeiro for a Tuesday night game?
Yep.
But if that happened, if there was that kind of a breakaway, if they decided that they want to make as much money as they possibly can, all of the big clubs. They don't want to be restricted in making that kind of money. They want to create a sort of footballing oligarchy. Let them have it. Is there a sense, do you think, that what's left will actually bring football to the people back? You might, if you're already a Brentford fan or a Tranmere fan or a Burnley fan or Stoke or whatever, you're already in that environment. But we'll start to see, like the Championship now, a different champion every year, or let's say every 2 years, because obviously the champion gets promoted, so they can't be champions twice in a row. But you get a bit more variety, you get a bit more excitement in the chase for the title. The FA Cup will become, in English football, will become more, I think, egalitarian. Then it's not going to be the same 6 teams all the time, because the cycle can't keep going. You can't keep getting ultra rich clubs joining the Super League, because they'll want to do what I'm pretty sure Rugby Super League is closed, isn't it? It's basically these are the clubs, and you're not in that group. Tough luck to you. there is a sense to me, and would you agree that any silver line to be taken from that would be we'd actually get to see football as it used to be. We just maybe would have to either swallow our conscience and morals and scruples or give up supporting our big club teams.
Oh yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think being that the other club that I follow right there is from where my family's originally from Burton on Trent. Right there, I follow Burton Albion right there. Again, that right there would show the lower league clubs right there. It would basically promote growth in them right there. I think that in this whole parachute payment thing that happens in the championship right now, where the Premier League teams go down to, which is automatically a 3-year cushion plan right there, and will actually promote more competition. And I really think if the Super League does happen right there, it'll be closed. It'll be a closed league also. I mean, they're not going to let certain people in there. This is going to be the elite in their eyes that they want to be in there, and it's basically it's over with then. I mean, the only thing I can really figure right there is the only fight back right there is if you don't have a club like Celtic or Rangers go into that Super League right there. That I could see probably a more unified UK league right there coming up right there, where you could bring in Aberdeen, bring in those like the Scottish League clubs into the mix, because they're not going to make that elite of the elite. I mean, maybe Celtic maybe be the only ones since they won a championship, but it's been like since the 50s. I mean, so you're still in the same thing right there, where they're not considered the cream of the crop. And I think that to fight that back right there and have more competition, you would be able to invoke that Scottish versus English type of competition that you used to have with football. But yeah, I mean, I think that the lower leagues themselves right there, I mean, probably are like egging this on right there, I think, in a way, because the Premier League does not come with there and dwindle down as much money as people think they do to the lower leagues. It's a very much a cash grab thing that happens, except for when they play the FA Cup or the League Cup. And the League Cup really is almost nothing as far as money that brings in, especially when you're basically paying for tickets for 35 quid basically for most tickets to the League Club. So I mean, that's almost nothing right there. Where the FA Club, you really don't start making money until you get further on in the rounds. Then that's when the money comes in. And so I think that given people may want to come back to the sport, because I know I've talked to many people who fell out of love with the whole sport. That's what happened with the whole thing with the break off like clubs like the AFC Liverpool that came out of this, and then also where you had the Salford City came out of this whole thing, out of the breakaway clubs from this, where people right there got tired of paying 300, 400 pounds right there to go see a match. I mean, and they're just like, okay, we're done with this, and we can't. The regular, ordinary person can't afford to go see a match anymore. And they're like, okay, well, you know what? We're just going to make our own clubs, make our own, have it so football is affordable for everybody.
Let's kind of flip it a little bit here, just from your own personal point of view. And if anybody's in the comments wants to answer this, feel free. We'd love to hear it. If the City and Chelsea don't get any sort of punishment, let's say those charges on both accounts kind of just disappear into thin air, and we'll keep stalling it for years and years. Do you remember those charges? No, I've never heard of it. What are you it just goes by the boy, and nothing comes of it. So they decide, you know what, screw this. We're gonna form this Super League now and just have all the money concentrated, like that enhanced games that you saw a report there where everybody's jacked on performance enhancing drugs. So there's no excuse then. Do you think, two-part question? Number one, do you think FSG would want to be part of that Super League? And number two, if they did decide to do that, would you personally remain a Liverpool supporter, or would Liverpool, the ethos that we all kind of come into the club learning about, would that cause you to go, no, that's not the Liverpool I want to support?
It's we almost did it before. It almost happened right there. We signed on, we were ready to go, and the backlash from us was immense right there. I think that was one of the things right there that drew the line. I think that, are FSG in it to make money? Yes. Are they willing to listen to to the fans, to the supporters, to people, to the supporter groups like Spirit of Shankly and those guys. They do listen to them right there, and they actually do have a little bit of a say through there. I don't know exactly whether FSG would want to cross that line again right there because I think that it would basically be the death of this club. I really do. I think that I think, and I agree with what Tony says right there. I think they're going to go and look in and see what's in for them. But also the ultimate thing right there, your goal is to sell seats. What are you going to do when nobody wants to watch you? I mean, because again, right there, everybody knows what the ethos of the city of Liverpool is. You know, we know what we talk about. We're different as a club. We're a different type of club right there. You know, we do establish ourselves in a different manner right there. And I think that selling out isn't something right there that we would support. And I think that it would be probably a pretty much a death sentence to FSG and probably a death sentence to Liverpool Football Club.
Let's move on and not have to talk about too much depressing stuff because we're doing quite well. The only thing I'd say then is, like, if this all comes to pass the way it looks like it might come to pass, you wouldn't want to be Jurgen Klopp, really, would you? I mean, you could rest easy that you did the best you could in the correct manner. But to know you could have won maybe one or two extra trophies had, City, for example, being punished when they should have been punished. Or imagine being Brendan Rodgers. Maybe the Chelsea team we faced on that second last game of the season had only their kids because they got like transfer bans, etc. Maybe he'd be sitting on a Premier League trophy as well. But let's move on to Liverpool stuff. So we're all excited to possibly, hopefully, maybe see Alexander Isak play this week. We're going to talk about the actual game itself later. But one of the things that's come out, apart from Frimpong being fit, is Stefan Bajcetic being apparently close to fitness, if not fit to train, if not maybe fit to play a game. There he is, pulling the hamstring, fixing his socks, because he seems to be that kind of a player. Here's the first question. We'll talk about Isak when we get closer to the game stuff. But Bajcetic, he's being raved about and spoken about and talked about and heralded, much like the mythical Calvin Ramsey almost. But we've seen Bajcetic. That's the good thing about it. We've actually seen him exist. My thing about it is that players that get injuries that young will almost never, not completely never, but very, very rarely will fulfill their potential. Is there an emotional thing with this because he did look like he could be so good, because he's so young, and because he feels a need that we've been crying out for since Fabinho, to will Bajcetic to come back to full fitness and to challenge Gravenberch for that number 6 spot? Or is that just wishful thinking? Are we really just kind of dragging this out from and we're going to see him at Fulham, in a year and a half time?
I don't think we're going to see him at Fulham. I think he's going to be back playing in either somewhere in Spain. I think that's where he's destined to play right there. One, as much as I love Bajcetic when he came through and that first season came up, like you said right there, those type of injuries right there are hard to come by. I mean, you can think of other players right there that had the same thing. Richie Partridge, I mean, right there, that was one.
Rob Jones is the best.
Rob Jones, Danny Pacheco. I mean, those are players right there who you remember right there who had really, really bad injuries right there and then never recovered back from them again. I mean, I can just go with there for players like Danny Ings, who's kept on playing, but Danny Ings was never that same player again. Jabril Cisse, never the same player again right there. Those type of injuries right there are kill careers on the most part right there. I mean, and at his age right there, having to work that up, could Bajcetic actually come good? Sure. But I just don't think that he has the room to grow in this club at the moment. I don't see him coming there and taking Gravenberch out of his spot, and I don't see him taking McAllister out of his spot. So those are two places right there you have to go. And the midfield is only limited about who's going to actually go and play in that midfield. I think the one thing you'd have to do is to see where you fit him in at. I mean, I guess the only thing you can see right there is maybe possibly a sub against Southampton to see how he does. But I can't trust him right now in the Premier League at the moment. I can't. I mean, that's because, again, until he actually gets minutes again, Because if you think he hasn't played consistent football for 2 seasons now, because even when he was on loan last season, he got injured through a couple times in that season right there, where even when he went back over to Spain, he played well, but toward the end of the season, he got injured again. So, I mean, these are, like you said, those are nagging injuries. And it kind of goes like on the conversation that Sir Z and I had a couple months ago about Isak. Like, there are a little bit of concerns we had about Isak. I mean, the same thing goes with there. I mean, I think that players can work their way through these injuries, but when it takes time and it takes actually a consistency to actually play. And I just don't know if Magitek is going to be that player right there to get that run of games to get him fit. I mean, could he probably, when he gets fit, go out on loan for 6 months again right there? But I think if he goes out on loan again, he'll never return.
Well, the thing about for me is it's not Isak. If you look at his injuries, they're not kind of recurring, like breaking down as they're coming back from, which is what happened with Rob Jones. Like, and I always just use his name because that was one of the biggest crying shames of modern football, because he had so much talent as a fullback and wing back. But it's the for Bajcetic, it's the constant. Always back in training, always injured again. Always back in training again, taking it, always injured again. It's like he can't get out of the recovery phase. And my thing about it is that as he's trying to come back out of the recovery phase, the rest of the football, the rest of the players, the rest of the opponents, they're actually improving on their fitness. So he has to catch up to that, to where he was when he got injured, and then some, and move on and catch up to where the players are now that he's going to be playing against, which is probably why we see those players frequently go down the levels then, which is why I said Fulham. I was just thinking more of Harry Wilson and players like that. Yeah. They have to go down a level to be able to cope with it. I mean, yeah, go ahead.
I mean, I really think that he's still in the good age group right there where he can probably go with the U23s and actually get some runs and matches with the U23s, especially with the way their schedule is until we get to holiday, when they actually have like the oddest schedule you could come across. Because almost like the academy has almost like almost a month and a half break during the holidays. And so where there's nothing there. But I think if you get him those minutes, to get him the runs and stuff like that through there, and then possibly put him then send him again. I think if you do send him on loan, he's gone. I mean, this will be his last year. We had sent him on loan, pulled him out of a loan, sent him back on loan. I mean, so these are a lot of things. I mean, they go with season prior, he didn't play the entire season. So lots of different things right there going with the kids. So you basically, again, like I said, you've had 2 seasons without consistent football. It's a lot to go. That's a lot to make up. I mean, and that's. I mean, until you can give him minutes on his legs and actually get him to run and get him to go and play on a pitch at a consistent level, I just don't see a way forward.
Now let's move across sort of the tactical line a little bit. Are we essentially also having the same conversation for Conor Bradley? He seems a bit more hardy than Bajcetic. But again, so much potential and talent and so many glimpses of how good he could be. But yeah, we can't keep him fit for more than a few games at a time. We all want these young players to work out regardless of who they are and regardless of whether they're injury prone or not injury prone. But is there a point where you kind of have to be realistic about it and go, Conor Bradley, bags of talent, but he's not going to be a Liverpool fullback because he can't get on the pitch for more than 10 games more than 6 games in a row, let's say.
I mean, absolutely. I mean, Kazi talks about it all the time about Conor Bradley. It's a great talent, but he can't stay fit. I mean, it's again right there. You have to be an asset. I mean, and I think that he's again super talented kid right there. I think that I think he's got a good mix of being able to make runs and actually go track back to defend. I mean, which is something that you want to have a full. It's something that we didn't have from the other guy that left last season right there. That he didn't consistently do that right there. Where Bradley actually came in and did, and I think that's the one thing that you have with him. I think what Frimpong offers right there at the moment is more than what you will get out of Conor Bradley. And I think that's where, you have to be ruthless with this thing right there. I mean, kind of like what Mr. Battle said. You kind of have to be ruthless on these things right here. It's like, where do you see him in the future, in your future fold? Is there somebody behind him that has a possibility of being even more talented? I mean, and those are things that you have to assess. I mean, that's a lot of the statisticians and stuff like that go there and try to figure out where these guys are going to be at in 2 seasons or 3 seasons, and whether they're going to be the players that you expect them to be. But if you can't do 10-6 matches right there. I mean, what do you do with a player like that? It's one of those things. I mean, we've already seen right there, Slavosly come there and slapped that role already once and took it and ran with it. I mean, so again, this goes back to what are we going to do with this player? And I think I can see with the same thing with what Tony said right there. You can go into and put him in some cup matches to get him through, but ultimately, like him, he's one of these players right there that has to get minutes. And if you can't get minutes, I mean, that's just it's not gonna work out.
We have heard, I believe you may have slightly mentioned it a good number of weeks ago about I think it was you actually mentioned it about the possibility of Liverpool doing one of those satellite club things and doing what like Red Bull does or Chelsea does and City does, etc. Do you think having these great talented young players that can't get fit for the Premier League, do you think that might be a prodding point for the club to buy somebody in the second division in France or something like that, and then use that club to give these players a chance to have a less intense sort of season of games, to get them to recover at a pace that their bodies are capable of, but at a level of football that's not youth football? Because I don't think the under-23s is as consistent as, playing like senior football. It's, you can go, not weeks, but you can go a good long amount of days without a game, and it's all just training. So do you think maybe that might be an impetus for the club to go, do you know what, if we buy somebody in the Spanish second division or somebody in the Albanian Premier League, we can bring Bradley and we can bring Bajcetic over there, and we can send, who's this guy? What's his name? Calvin Ramsey. We could send that kid over as well. The Ghost, yeah. But we can do that, and we can dictate and to an extent control their recovery, but at a level where there's pressure on them, mental pressure on them every week, as opposed to you're just playing. You may put personal pressure on yourself to win the under-23s league or whatever, but it's not the same as when you have 6,000 fans every week looking at you, not wanting to be relegated or wanting to win the Albanian league or whatever. Do you think that may prompt the club to actually be serious about that idea?
I mean, I thought that was the whole premise of why we can't have a three-pronged group of people in charge of us now right there was to have this whole thing right there. I mean, where you have Hughes basically come there and covering most of us with it, but the other two right there were more global appeal to their excuse me. But I think we tried with Toulouse. I mean, I think we tried with them, and I think that just didn't really happen. I think that there was something dealing with the funds or something like in there, or how they
had nothing to lose.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. I think we tried with them, but I think they were borderline on administration, and we tried to come there and go to there. And I just think that we couldn't get the money straight or something like that. But I mean, I think it's City does it. I mean, Chelsea's doing it. I mean, these people are doing these things right there, putting players out there. One, it also gives you a free route right there to put in players who are from from the African countries, to bring them in there, because it's a lot more open to and the league own to go there and bring players in there to actually embed them in European football and and try to move them from that point. But again, it's just it just depends on what FSG's overall vision is for Liverpool Football Club. I mean, I think they're now starting to talk about shedding the Pittsburgh Penguins now. So that will be one of the assets that they have off of them right there. Whether they see this as a big global picture right there. And I think our name is global, and I think that of having that type of a support network could actually come there and be actually pretty useful. I mean, for us, I just don't know. Like, I even what Mr. Battle said right there also, I just don't know whether right there that carrying players right there as potential, it is in the long run a good thing unless you plan on turning them out like Chelsea has right there by raising academy players and selling them off. I mean, City's doing the same thing: raise academy players, sell them off. I mean, and it's use it as a money making tool, which we talked about a couple I think last year about what the roles of an academy is. You get one player out of 99 right there that actually makes first team. All the other ones right there are just people who go that you use, make money off of, and send over to other clubs.
I mean, I'm just, well, as we're talking here, I'm thinking as well. We're talking about Toulouse and Spanish teams and Albanian leagues, but like buying like a Welsh team in the Welsh league or an Irish team in the League of Ireland or even well, probably not the Northern Irish league because there's not as many teams in that, but somewhere close to home where the style of football is a lot closer, and where they can literally take a 45-minute flight over every week to have a look at their assets. I mean, there's a lot of upside to the idea, isn't there? Not in terms of the economics of it or the ability to just funnel players there, buy players and have them parked. It'd be a good idea for getting our injured talents proper football so that their recovery could be maybe a little bit more robust.
It'd be easier for scouts, much easier for scouting network right there to actually have somebody go to like Linfield or someplace like that and actually go and watch them play, and so you can actually see what their progress is. I mean, I would not be, and I know it's an idea that people had talked about before, even somewhat of a modeling of of how Spanish league does by having a second side, having a Liverpool number 2 right there who can never get promoted, and then you basically have these players right there play over in the lower leagues. They can get relegated, but they can never go above the championship to give them minutes right there and actually go and play competitive football. Because honestly, in my opinion, I think the championship is probably the hardest league in England, in my opinion, because of what you're dealing with. You're dealing with teams right there who are trying to get back in Premier League, who got relegated, and you're also going there dealing with teams right there who are trying to invest to go what they're doing. You have people who have balloon payments, and you have so it's a rough league to play in. I mean, that's why, when one of my guys I work with who's a Wrexham supporter right there, and he's like, hey, we're going to walk the league. I say, hey, yeah, you're not. No, you're not. You'll be glad to go there and make 15th, my friend. I mean, because it's not going to be an easy walk.
Now let's move on from the multi-club model because it's an interesting topic in and of itself, but we want to talk about players coming back. We've got Frimpong back as well, which you mentioned. Assuming he starts, it's a tough one. We'll talk about the lineup because Szoboszlai's been doing great in that position. But having the option of Frimpong there coming back, it's in terms of how we can bring Salah more into the game. Frimpong coming back is a big deal, isn't it?
Oh, it is a big deal, but I don't see Frimpong coming up starting this match. I don't think the Slot is that type of person to change what's working. And I think that
but not just this match, but just in general, like having him.
Oh yeah, definitely.
If he was out long term, number one, it would have been a horrible outcome for a transfer. But with Kirkes kind of figuring out, or at least Slot figuring out how Kirkes should play over the last 2 games, Frimpong becomes more vital then, doesn't he? But his up and down runs. If
absolutely
is more conservative.
I mean, absolutely right there. It also gives Mo the ability to move in a little bit more right there and be actually more of a playmaker along with Wirtz. So, so yes, I think that in the long run, because, we talked about a couple months ago where we see Frimpong being as a long-term person. I think he's a wing back. It's what he plays. But he's actually does have a little bit more of ability to go back and backtrack than I think than the guy who left here last year. Yeah, but ultimately I think you have to look at what when AFCON happens in January, where do you see Frimpong at? And I see Frimpong in that Mo spot, or Szoboszlai in that Mo spot right there, where you're going to have to go between a competition between either Frimpong or Bradley back in the back right there. So you have to go and expect where you want him to go. I think, again, Frimpong's going to get his minutes. There's no denying about that. I just don't know whether he's able to walk back in on this match against Burnley, or whether we wait for another week or two and he starts against Southampton.
Now, one other player that isn't returning for us, he's literally just arriving, and that we saw in training footage, Alexander Isak. The drama is over, and now the story can start to be told. I don't know whether you've seen any of the clips of him in training, but outside of his general overall cardio, maybe a little bit of anaerobic fitness, in pure technical terms, the bloke looks class, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. I mean, people go there and say we spent a pile of money right there. We spent a pile of money for goals. That's it. I mean, we came there and lived through Darwin Nunez for a couple seasons right there, wanting to do the things that you and I both talked what a number 9 should be doing, and he couldn't. This guy's a number 9. This guy can do what we want him to do. So yes, I think that it's going to be spectacular. I just don't know whether when he gets on the pitch, because I think that Ekitike is probably going to be your starting player on this match, and I think that you may see Isak probably about the 60th minute, something like that, just to ease him into the side right there. But I mean, it looks fantastic.
Mr. Bartlett, that's what I'm talking about. Like, the quality of what he was doing, like, it was just so exciting that you wouldn't get bored watching it for 40 minutes or 40 times rather, because you're trying to see what all the little things that he was doing. Bearing in mind it was just a training game, and the big lads were all off on international duty, etc., etc. But the positions he was getting himself in, the accuracy with what he did, which is what we complained about for Darwin Nunez, not effort, not spirit, not heart. He seemed like a great lad to have on the team. If he was putting the ball, or if he cost $2 million, I'd say we'd probably want him to have stayed. He'd be a Divock Origi type character or something like that. But not for the amount we paid for him. But what Isak was showing was, he knows where the goal is, and he doesn't have to overcomplicate it. That's what we were looking for. That's what we paid big bucks for, isn't it?
Absolutely. If you look at the overall run of what players cost right there, forwards are going to cost the most amount of money. It is what it is. I mean, that happens. Number 10's right behind that, and then you start going back in there, except for the Calcedo thing. But I think we drove that price up for Calcedo right there for the Chelsea by making that big, because I think that first Chelsea wasn't going to go there, and then we came there and bounced them and caused them to spend that kind of money. And I think that's where he goes. I mean, goals win matches. I mean, goals win matches, defenses win championships. So, I mean, those are the things you have to look at. So you have to go and have him go out there and actually get those minutes and score goals. Again, I think he's got a great vision. I think he knows what he's doing and all that. And he's a natural goal scorer that we haven't had in a long time. I think the last one that we had was probably Luis Suarez. I mean, honestly, was the last one that I can think of that was a natural goal scorer. Before that, you'd have to go back to Fernando Torres.
Yeah, I mean, Fernando Torres was probably the last proper number 9 we had.
Yeah,
Suarez was a bit more Kenny Dalglish, like
correct,
where he needed to play. Now, here's what I'm thinking, just to kind of backtrack a little bit to what you were talking about earlier. Let me propose this to you. Salah goes off to the African nations. Frimpong stays right back. Isak, Ekitike, and Wirtz as a 4-3-1-2 trio, a 2 number 9 and a 10 behind them. What do you think?
I like it, but I think that Ekitike will be better on the left, and I put Slavosly on the right, because Slavosly has actually played on the right before with RB Leipzig. That's one of the things I said last year right there. If we were where you put him in a midfield and like where you would try him out when we were kind of frustrated with him right there. But again, I think that him being on the right, Ekitike on the left with Isak and the front right there with Wirtz right behind him, amazing. I mean, because again, I mean, I expect Slavosly to go there and do what he does. He runs, he draws people across right there. So you leaving that left side and also your center right there for completely open, because you're going to draw players to on the ball to Slavosly.
You kind of have to feel sorry for Cody, really, don't you?
And again, that's kind of one of the things I said last week right there. And I was sitting there talking about it at work too. I like Cody, but I think in the long run, is Cody going to be here? I don't know. I don't know. I think that Bayern had a lot of interest in bringing Cody in there this past summer, but I think he knocked it back. It'll be interesting to see what exactly he's going to, what the future lies for him. But I mean, again, you have a 22 and a 25-year-old, two like forwards. Ikiteke can play either on the left side or in the center. So I mean, you have these things right there where you have a lot of tools in your hands. It's a bad thing. It's a good bad thing, basically, because you're never going to keep anybody happy with this right here, because of all the assets that you have. But would it be good to have all these tools in your toolbox right there to say, you know what, I'll bring Gapco on, or hey, I'll bring on Ikiteke right there in the number. I mean, it's so good. It's a good problem to have.
Now, Alan wants to know if you can put a plant on your windowsill, just for old time's sake. Let me ask this then. Are we being a little bit too emotional and a bit too supportive in wanting to figure out the best 11 and kind of trying to shoehorn Cody and shoehorn Szoboszlai in, when the reality is, as Cuzzy says every week, there's enough minutes, and it's what Jared Houllier was saying in 1999 when he took over. It's a game of rotation, and you're only as good as your bench.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think we feel a bit sorry for Cody? We feel a bit sorry for Zobo because they're let's say on paper more talented players, or at least more effective on the pitch players. But the reality is we're going to need Cody to fill in for runs of games, and if he does great, then Ekitike maybe has to start fighting his way back in. We want Szoboszlai doing that running game and drawing players in. And Frimpong doing his thing on the right wing because we paid so much money for him. But the reality is, Szoboszlai may have to fill in there for like 4 or 5 games and give Frimpong a bit of a rest. And that's the reality, isn't it? We've paid big money for goals. We've paid big money to improve the first 11. But in improving the first 11, we've actually made our bench stronger, because the previous first 11 are now the bench, and they were already pretty good winning the league, weren't they?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, but again, I think you're at the focus of who you're playing, and how that team plays right there. Again, would you play a certain player playing against the low block? I mean, you're going to go there and pick up a certain player that that has a better asset to there. You're going to go play in Europe right there. You're going to go and play against one of the sides right there that actually plays more of a continental style football, in which now I think everybody plays continental style football for the most part. But I mean, but you're going to actually want to go and pick out a certain player right there who's going to unlock those keys. I think you have a couple of players right there who are almost undroppable at the moment right there. Mo Salah, Verts, Allison, Van Dijk. They're undroppable. I mean, those are players right there that you have to. And now when Isak gets fit, he's probably going to be almost, I think, kind of undroppable, but I also think that Ikiteke can rotate with him also. So, but those players right there are the players that you're going to have across the board right there who are not going to get moved out. I think you can still rotate McAllister. You can still rotate Gravenberch. You can still rotate Frimpong, Kirkez. I think you can Kanate. I think you can rotate also on your left-hand side. So all these other players, yes, they're going to get minutes right there. But these core players, that's your core. You have to play through. You have a spine, and it's like the one thing that we talked about back in 2019 right there. With if you build yourself a good spine, everything else will fold in correctly.
Now, before we kind of move on to the actual game thing, just the amount of games that are coming up, just as we're on the Champions League is coming up as well. There's been a lot of criticism, not from Liverpool fans, at least that I haven't seen, and I certainly hope there hasn't been, about Florian Wirtz. He showed flashes. He showed Thiago-like flashes, being able to, pick the lock and being able to, do those one-time first touch kind of changes of direction that Thiago is so great at. Do you think we're going to see the real Wirtz that we expected once we get to the Champions League and the pace drops a little bit?
Oh, absolutely. But I mean, you can see in the second half against Arsenal, you saw a lot more good, better glimpses of what Wirtz has to offer. And I think that again, it's going to go back to getting used to playing football in this country. I mean, it's different. It's a more fast paced, it's a more aggressive type of football. And I think that you have teams in there that are more. I hate to say the word finesse right there, but they are more pass oriented and more able to break down things. Then you have clubs that are looking to blitzkrieg and run you over. And I think I think Bournemouth play in that type of fashion right there, where they basically run at you the whole time. Newcastle plays the same exact way. I mean, where they actually go there, blitz you, and they actually go over and try to swamp you. In both those matches right there, Wirtz had problems within those matches. I mean, and it's again, first two matches this season, getting used to playing in a new country. I mean, it happens. I mean, you can't actually go there and make an assessment of there again. Like we talked before, right there, the first couple of matches until your international break, almost warm up. So like extension to your preseason matches, because you're still not in full fitness yet, right there. You don't really break full fitness until probably about the beginning part of October, right there. And there, once you get past that first international break, that always happens, to kill momentum for the most part. And then you actually go there and get built up, and then you play into it into November, December, and all that. It's just being able to manage that process there. So I think that Wirtz definitely right there, when he starts playing like teams like Atletico Madrid and stuff like that, I think you're going to see a lot. You're going to see a lot more of a playmaker that he has to offer.
Now let's move on. While we're talking about what players have to offer, we've got Burnley, England's brave Scotty Parker's Burnleyest Burnley ever against Liverpool. It is Burnley we're playing, correct?
Yeah.
I didn't even know what day it was today. Now, how do you see this? We can talk. I don't think we're going to see Isak start. I think we can all hold off the bets on that. But will we? Do you think? Are you certain in Slot's unwillingness to change what's working and Szoboszlai will stay right back? Do you think Kerkez gets the nod at left back again? We're going to get the same two defenders. I'm imagining. There's nobody suspended that I know of.
Nope.
There's nobody injured that we should be worried about other than who we knew before. Is it going to be Cody, Ekitike, Salah? Is it going to be McAllister, Gravenberch, and Wirtz, and then the same back four? Or do you think Slot is capable of pulling out a surprise, given how Burnley have been playing, and given the need to maintain momentum, especially given the Manchester derby this weekend?
My big concern is McAllister. I don't think he's fully fit. I think that even the Argentinian manager basically said that he wasn't fully fit, but he's going to play him anyway. I mean, it's basically a long flight and a long process for him to go through. I think Curtis Jones is probably going to wind up playing in that spot. I think you can see Curtis and Gravenberch right next to each other for the most part in there. Other than that, right there, I don't see any changes. I don't think again, like I said, like a couple weeks, like last week, I think that Szoboszlai is undroppable at the moment. I mean, the way he's playing. I mean, I think that you can't really drop him. I think that Kerkez, he's still trying to learn Kerkez, and I think that Robertson basically is a perfect person to close out a match at the moment right there to shut things down. I mean, again, Virgil, Konate right there. I think that's a sure. Allison is a sure thing. And I think that Ekitike up in the front right there with Cody and Mo right behind him, and Wirtz in the middle. That's pretty much almost an unchanged side right there. Besides just Curtis Jones going there and filling in for McAllister. And I think that McAllister probably will be on the bench, and I think you'll probably give him minutes, like about the 60th or 70th minute, just to kind of get it just try to help get his fitness in right there. On that. Frimpong maybe coming in for Szoboszlai probably with the 60th, just to kind of give him also a run out. I don't see. That's pretty much most of the things I see in this match.
Do you think it might be possible though that if McAllister is jet lagged at least, let alone like physically unfit to play, or not physically unfit but lacking 100% sharpness, that maybe Szoboszlai takes that midfield spot with Gravenberch, and Frimpong comes in straight back in at right back? Or do you think he'll stick with what Szoboszlai's been doing well?
I think he's going to stick with Szoboszlai right now because I think that Frimpong coming off an injury, the only thing I can see right there would possibly happen besides Curtis Jones right there would be Endo coming in for like basically McAllister not on the bench with Endo on the bench coming in for Jones to say again a shutting down a match for the most part. That would be the only thing I can really see happen. I just don't really have faith that McAllister right can put in 30 minutes at the moment. I just don't know. I mean, because the way they're saying right there, he's not really fit. And I think we had a lot of even when he played against Arsenal, there were some questionable things with him as far as backtracking and keeping his movement. I mean, so I just don't think that he was really the best player. He wasn't the McAllister that we talked about.
In terms of Ekitike, he's been hitting the ground running, I think, and a vast contrast to Darwin Núñez, a vast contrast to a lot of players who've come in and just not done what they set out to do. He's gone and done it. You can't not play him. If he's fit to play, you can't not play him at this point. But is it? Do you think it's possible? And I've been thinking about this since we signed Isak, and of course we had the international break for me to do a lot of thinking in because there's nothing else to bloody well do. But back in the day, let me get my flat cap out and get a little piece of twig and a knife and cut it. Back in the day when Jack Charlton managed Ireland, and we had John Aldridge as let's say Niall Quinn. Or John Aldridge and Tony Cascarino as our forwards. Oof. One thing that was, John Aldridge, fantastic runner. He was like, for Ireland at least, for Liverpool, he was, Ian Rush incarnate almost. But for Ireland, he was the Darwin Núñez, ball of energy and just could put the ball in the net until he eventually started doing it. But to take John Aldridge off, if you were playing against Ireland, and then have Niall Quinn and Tony Cascarino, 2 6'5" players, knowing full well the ball is now going to be launched 100% of the time into the box, led to Ireland scoring a hell of a lot of late goals, late equalisers and late winners in the late 80s, early 90s. Now, obviously, that's not the style of play we do with Slot, but do you think there's going to be an element of, and maybe we see it for 10 minutes, an element of psychological battling almost. Somebody has a drummer playing out there. An element of psychological battling almost where, Ekitike has done a great job. He scored a goal. Salah has done a great job. He scored a goal. He's looking a bit leggy. Oh, crap. Isak is coming on now. And you've got Isak and Ekitike. Or maybe Cody comes off and they've got Isak, Ekitike and Salah and Wirtz possibly, and maybe McAllister's there with his howitzers from outside the box. Do you think we're going to start seeing now, at least on the attacking side, that managers are going to second guess themselves, not knowing how to cope with what we can bring off the bench?
I mean, it's really, again, it's like what I said earlier, right there. You have so many tools right there. Yeah, it was my wife trying to put something in a shelf. So yeah. Nope.
Tony's being naughty.
I know, yeah. But yeah, it's I mean, I can see right there that happening right there, having like two twin towers basically in the middle of right there. I mean, can you imagine going there and having Ekitike and Peter Crouch in the middle? Yeah. I mean, it's like two people right there, two beam poles to go out there and basically hit yourself, to aim a ball at right there for the most part. But I mean, I think again right there, which is what I was talking about last week with Ekitike playing off of Isak. I think that could be as a possibility. I know my formation was all goofy right there, how it was, and I was about to go in there and like last week put in a post. Okay, this is what I really meant right there. I mean, because it looked like it was so, and like I think I gave PTSD right there to Sir Z right there while I was looking at my formation. But I think that in the light of it right there, I think you have to go in there and actually think about being able to play that type, play two number nine and a number 10 off each other right there, and to shake things up. Again, every league now right there is obsessed with a 4-3-3. I mean, I think we're due a shake up. And I think that it has to happen right there. And I mean, it's like basically talking about tiki taka. Tiki taka is dead too. I mean, so football, if you go through the rotation of what has been the most popular things out there, 4-4-2 stayed forever and ever and ever and ever. Then you brought 5-3-2 in. Then you came there and went to something else. I mean, so you went to your diamond midfields. Then you went to like your box midfields. If you have the progression of how formations go, they last for a while until somebody figures out, I know how to break this down. And I think a 4-3-3 has been figured out how to get broken down. And I think that by inventing something right there or reinventing something, we're having a tall number 9 with a 10 playing off of him, or having like that is something that's a good possibility. Slott's a smart guy. I mean, he's probably thinking about all these things right there.
All the Baldwins are.
Absolutely right there. Or maybe he's watched the show and saying, hey, you know what?
Yeah.
Macka and Brian have a good plan.
So your formation will be Allison, Van Dijk, Kanate. You think Szoboszlai stays there, and Kerkez on the left, then Gravenberch, Jones, and Wirtz, and then Ekitike, Salah, and Cody on the left. So what do you think would I be stupid in thinking that we should A, keep a clean sheet in this one, and B, score a hefty load of goals?
We should score a hefty amount of goals. I mean, I think this is easy a 4-0 type of match because, again, this Burnley side's bad. They're not a good side. I don't think they're not set up for success in this league, and I think that's one of the things that you have to go with right there. I mean, I'm kind of the only one thing I'm almost in a way worried about right there is our defense is our defense. I'm kind of still definitely concerned about us letting a cheap goal go in. But I don't think this is a match worth to happen. I just don't see it. I think we may get our first clean sheet right there on this on here. I think we have a good chance.
Clean sheet.
Yeah, second clean sheet. Yeah. I think we have a good chance to get our second clean sheet.
Now here's my question: which do you think is more important to the players? Do you think a convincing scoreline in terms of getting the 3 points? Or do you think keeping the clean sheet, even if it's only another 1-0? Because we seem to base our league win last year on early season 1 and 2-0 wins every week. And it kind of lent us a sort of hardiness, I think, around the league. A sort of like, Liverpool, this is not Klopp's Liverpool. They're a lot harder to break down. You haven't seen that much this season so far, the harder to break down. But as people say, pundits are saying, you may score against Liverpool, but they're going to score 2 or 3 on you as well. So, it's almost like a fool's errand. But which do you think will boost the players more? A 3 or 4-1 or 4-2 or 5-2, or a tight 1-0, 2-0 win?
I think a clean sheet would actually be a better result right there, because I think we need to have that. I mean, I survived Brendan Rodgers. I survived that first season of Klopp right there. I mean, barely. I mean, through there when it was like we were winning matches like 5-4, 4-3 every weekend. I mean, Brendan Rodgers, same stuff like that when this first season he took over. It was the whole time you're like, okay, what are we doing? And it's like, I mean, basically investing in heart and blood pressure meds right there for the most part. And I'd rather go there and actually have a match that's actually clinical and won. Knock out 2-0, 3-0, something like that, and coast, versus go there worried about going there and constantly being attacked and whether somebody's going to make the wrong step and then let in a goal. And that's and again, defenses win championships right there, so you have to go there and actually start getting these clean sheets.
Now let's be sort of clear here that my particular set of cardiac problems were not diagnosed until after Brendan Rodgers was sacked from Liverpool. Just showing how much less pressure my body was under after that happened. And I say that as somebody who thoroughly enjoyed that 2013-14 season. But,
It was fantastic.
Not good for the heart whatsoever.
No,
including
that the European UEFA Cup that we did. That was another one that was like, I mean, I could have choked Marino in that match so many times.
Hassan, I hope we do. I hope we do have that, because that's good for the sewage system. Yeah, you know what you meant, Hassan. You know what you meant. So with that said, I think I got to go for a 4-0. I think a 4-0 would be a reasonable scoreline against Burnley. It's not that I don't think we're incapable of conceding a sloppy one. I just, from what I've seen of Burnley, they just aren't structured enough to cause any problem. So if we do, it's going to be either an own goal or a penalty if we concede. Yep. But in the normal run of things, I think we'll see a 4-0. I think we'll see Salah on the score sheet and Ekitike. But I think Isak comes on and scores like a one in the last few minutes of injury time if he's on the bench. I think that's the team to do. And although I'd much really rather he scored against Everton, that'd be great for his debut goal. Great for him as well.
Everton, and topping it off at like the 89th minute. Right there, almost like a Divock Origi style right there, just to break their hearts even more. But yeah, I concur. I think 4-0 right there is a pretty sound result on there. I don't know if Isak's going to get on. I don't know where he's at as far as his fitness level. So, but I agree with you with Mo. Definitely agree with. I think that Ekitike right there definitely, and I think Wirtz may get his first goal for us too.
I mean, I wouldn't be shocked at all. I think that, again, the lack of structure at Burnley, like they play quite defensive, like unlike a championship team. They're not trying to run you over; they're actually trying to stop you from scoring, and that may suit Wirtz down to the ground. But let's hope so. Mr. Barrett says he would have said goal scorer if this game wasn't after an international break. And yes, we've had form on that in years gone by of not fulfilling our potential after an international break. But if Slot has proven anything, he's proven that he can break the mold.
Can we just be happy this is a lunchtime fixture? Can we just be happy about that? I mean, that's the biggest thing. I was like, hey, we're coming out for international break, and we're not a lunchtime fixture on Saturday.
On Saturday, yeah, that's a bonus at least. And that we'll Arsenal play Saturday, don't they?
Yes.
Yeah. So they play Forest, don't they?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there you go. We could be in for a treat there before we even kick them off.
What a mess! I mean, I know we didn't really talk about it right there, but we talked to I wonder who won actually our thing for Nuno being the first one sacked right there, because I didn't pick that right there. I really thought it was Scott Parker was the first one, but man, what a mess Forest are at the moment.
That's because he's not here tonight. He spent his winnings from betting on Nuno being the first manager.
Yeah.
Now, with that said, everybody, we may have a watch along. I believe that it's in the pipeline for the game on Sunday against Burnley. But if you want to know whether we do or not, you got to do this. You got to follow us on YouTube, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, X, formerly known as Twitter, Blue Sky, and all of the other social medias. And then morning coffee tomorrow, I believe. So keep an eye on that. But for me and Brian, it's Betty boys. We gotta wash our head, and comb our skin, and get the old permed follicles. Yeah, so the ladies can swoon even more over the weekend. But thank you for joining us, everybody. Thank you for the comments as always. We like to see those contributions. We will see everybody next Thursday. Enjoy the weekend, enjoy the game, and as I say, keep an eye out for news of a watch along on Sunday. It'll be great, as Ross from France says. Okay, peace out, everybody. Have a good one. Here's the funky music.